Hey, welcome everybody. This is Jeff and David from growmyprofit.com. We're super excited to be back at you with another extraordinary entrepreneur interview. And today we've got the amazing Jake Fraleigh from Eliminator Boats, president, chief bottle washer, all the things in between, the magician in the shop, the magician on the dealer floor. And we're super excited about sharing a little bit about your journey. I know that Jeff and you have had some good times together, and I want to just start our presentation today, Jake, with just a little bit of reminder of the fun that you get to have and what Jeff got a chance to experience in one of your little demo opportunities. So let me just play a quick little video of Jeff and Jake going for a little test drive. So for a nice 120 mile an hour, 121 mile an hour cruise across the lake in beautiful Southern California, that was obviously, Jeff, a trip to remember. So talk a little bit more about your connection to Jake and give him a nice warm introduction to all of our growmyprofit.com followers.
Wow. Yeah. So Jake and I have probably known each other pretty well for 3 or 4 years, being in the CEO group together. But it's funny, my relationship with Eliminator Boats goes back to the 80s when I had friends that had Eliminators, and it was just like, if you own an Eliminator boat at the river, my friend had a pink and turquoise green one, which was the hot 80s colors, and it was a badass boat. And just, you'd see those boats at the river. I just loved the brand and the company. And then when I met you and heard your story starting off as a teenager, right, working there, and then all of a sudden you own the company, you buy it out and turn it around, and then now in my CEO club, it's just, what an awesome story. And Jake's very humble guy, down to earth, just talking to customers and doing the deal, running a big company that's pretty complex, those motors, building the boats. I've toured his facility, and a super exclusive, high-end, luxury kind of business. So he's got some tough, very smart customers. And the fact he navigates all this from sales to operation to building, painting, designing, what's coming down the pike. I mean, I've just been really impressed with him as a business owner, CEO, and happy to be friends with him and be in the CEO group together. We have some fun when we have time, So welcome, Jake. Thanks for making the time. I know you're busy for showing up, man, and talking through a little bit about your experience. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. It's a small world, isn't it? It's I think that's been the main motivation behind my story. Is I never set out to say, hey, I'm going to be the CEO of Eliminator one day. I never did that. It was basically an opportunity that I came across and could not refuse. I have a love for this brand, a passion for this brand, and basically you have to be relentless and did what I had to do to get it, keep the company moving forward. So that's kind of a quick introduction.
Well, give us a little background on Eliminator Boats, and just kind of from a business standpoint. You got into a 50-year-old business a few years ago and needed to make some shifts to turn the thing around and right the ship, so to speak, and start heading in the right direction. Talk a little bit more about that opportunity and the challenges and difficulties that came with it.
Yeah, so the company started in 1969. The former owner, Bob Leach, basically built a couple boats in his garage. And over the years, over the 50-something years, he turned it into a basically 10,000 boats that were built and sold and delivered. And it's such a niche market. It's that the employees are like family, and the customers are like family. The company does a lot of events to keep people together, to hang out, and there's a lot of camaraderie there. And I'm thankful that I have it, because that's what, lots of repeat customers. So when it comes to sales, we're always trying to make sure that we keep bringing those customers back. But the history of the company is basically in the early 70s, Bob came out with a 19 Daytona that's a catamaran, which means that there's 2 forks on the front of the sponsons, and it packs air, and it makes the boat real light and flighty and fast, really efficient. So as you think about, you're on the water and you're you're rowing a canoe, and if you were to put your hand in the water, you could literally turn that whole canoe and do a 360, right? Well, these boats are designed to pack air entrapment design. It lifts the boat, and it skims across the surface. So when you're looking at that video with Jeff and I going for a ride in our 31, the same concept even today. It's just a much bigger scale with different technology, aka the outboard and whatnot. So if you wanted to go to the website and check it all out, but basically that in the 1970s, that 19 Daytona was an absolute game changer, and the company just went through the roof. And then the company survived the oil crisis of the 80s. It survived the Y2K, the 2000 issue, and anyway, so. But then in 08, the company did go through bankruptcy, unfortunately. They took on a lot of projects, like they had a new development, a new 75,000 square foot building that was being built in Paris, and it was just bad timing. 2008 came. We went from selling about 150 boats a year to 5. It just was overnight, the economy changed. So anyway, fast forward for the company with some partners and been able to turn it around since.
Very cool. So I'm curious to know, and Jeff may have some questions for you as well, but did you actually take like a written business plan of like how you're going to turn it around, or was it more based on principles? Different people have different strategies. Some people use a real complex business plan and, kind of use that for structuring.
Yeah. So when and I'm assuming you mean when I put the partnership together to buy Eliminator, I had a deck, and it was very elaborate. I knew what I could sell, what the estimated profit margins were. I had a pretty detailed plan. The only trouble is for me, I had to disclose, that the company was basically run like a small mom and pop shop. So didn't have disclosed it. It didn't have the accurate data to make the very proper decisions. That's what I would recommend to any company or entrepreneur out there, is to make sure that you have the data points there, because data helps you make the most wise decisions ever. And so to go back to the initial play was I disclosed that we had some misinformation I may not know, but this is what I think we can do, and basically pitched the hell out of it, and then I ran with it. So got people on board, and when we initially purchased the company, it was, you think about it, about a 50-year-old company for $1.5 million. It's actually a pretty good deal. Think about it, and over 10,000 boats. So we were running on that momentum, with the history, and I had that foundation. So the minute the bankruptcy was lifted off the company, then, sales, I could have doubled the sales that I originally projected. It was the next hardest part, which is to scale the company and production, which is all part of the drill. So if anybody knows about manufacturing, there's so many pieces to the puzzle. You got labor, inventory, timing, bottlenecks, and all these things. And so that's why with over time we have data and we have tracking systems. The technology these days is really awesome, because we can really get a handle on what your true costs are. You don't have so many surprises. So anyway.
Good. Jeff, you got anything you want to ask?
I know that I've watched Jake kind of adopt that whole scorecard idea, and I'm curious because I think he's been at that for about 2 years. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, when I first did it, I'm a $10 million business that's never done a scorecard in my life. I'm making, $2 million a year in my business. I'm thinking I don't need a scorecard. I do all this through Excel, and, I've got my goals and I just drive the team towards my goals. But when I got on the scorecard and it went, from 10 million to 20 million, I was like, wow, this thing actually works. So your experience with doing the scorecard, I think you actually did traction where you start holding your managers accountable for goals and raw. Did that make a big difference in your business? Do you feel like you feel more confident?
Absolutely. What it really does that I find helpful is to get everybody to communicate on the same level. Like, even though we all speak English in my office here, there's still different ways of interpreting everything. you know. And so it helps to get the playing field where everybody is basically communicating on the same thing and they know their numbers, and get them focused on exactly what is the most important thing. But the biggest improvement for me is, you know, I've had gentlemen that worked here for 30 something years and never once looked at a P&L for this company. They've worked here for so long, they didn't know what their number ever was. They never knew what, there was no way of measuring. So getting a scorecard system, now they're looking at it every week. You know, I can tell you, we did exactly 52 interior jobs last year, both for the service department and new build. So then you start having that number. If the interior guy can do this, and the next production guy can do this, things start to line up and you establish a flow. And that's the hardest thing with manufacturing, is keeping that flow.
Yeah.
Is there kind of like a big long-term goal that's like revenue or number of boats built, or, you know, like total, like that's obviously every goal in business is to try to grow the business,
Yeah.
make more money. Maybe someday, 10, 20 years from now, we sell it for a big number, but do you have kind of like a big goal that's like 5 years out to try to hit a certain goal? And
So the goal for this year is 30 boats delivered, new boats, new manufactured boats. There's a lot of other things that we look for revenue, but 30 boats delivered with a 35% margin. You know, the long term is I want to get to about the 55 boat mark. I want to say in about 3 years. But we got our work cut out. We got a facility that's, you know, not properly laid out, so we got to make some modifications so that we can accommodate the efficiency.
nice. So Dave, I know we talk about our 6 steps to grow a business, and number 1 is kind of like goal setting, maybe getting on, you know, a scorecard just to track progress. What does this business look like to double, and how many people do I need? And, you know, it pulls in sales, marketing, operations. So that's kind of step 1. So that was just, you know, why I asked you. I know you've got some pretty solid goals in place, and it sounds like management's getting on board, which is cool to see a business come together where, you know, you're not working 80 hours a week, losing sleep every night. I mean, you probably lose sleep once in a while, right? No matter who you are and what you're doing, but it's not like a daily just craziness, right? A lot of us, I think CEOs in general, run their business like a crazy person, and we love it. Like we might get something out of it, to be honest with you, you know, but it's cool to see you do that. So Dave, I mean, back to you. You want to maybe talk about sales or marketing? I know he's big on that.
Yeah, I'm curious to know, just from your experience with the business so far, Jake, and you know, probably not coming into this business with a lot of marketing expertise. As a CEO, president, what could you share with another business owner around the concept of marketing? What are some really key things that you've recognized as part of your journey to scaling this company to a point where you're maybe selling 55 boats in the next couple of years that comes back to marketing?
Yeah, so marketing is a big thing. I actually, you know, I didn't really tell the story because I was trying to summarize it quickly. I actually have been an employee here since '99, and I graduated college 2002. So I was working here while I was in college, and I promised my parents I would go to college, and I got a degree in marketing. And so fast forward to now, marketing is just about everything how we do. We always try to make ourselves look bigger than we are. I really have to showcase the quality because I'm commanding such a price for these things. So a lot of my marketing is predominantly on Instagram and Facebook right now. It's the most direct targeting marketing. And I've been able to get a lot of business that way. I mean, we just showcase the quality. We have the videos that, you know, we have 3 things that we believe in here, which is the lifestyle, functionality, and performance. Those three things are always kind of illustrated in all of our advertising and marketing. You know, we don't really have to do the web blast and the cold calling and all that kind of stuff. It's basically word of mouth. I mean, you just keep putting a good product out there, and let the product speak for itself. And then, you know, a little bit more outside the box thinking. My sales practices have changed too, where you have to really simplify the options. I mean, these boats are so complicated. We could get right down to the nut and bolts on how to build them. And so I came up with a sales process for my sales team to make sure that it's like it's as black and white as we can make a custom boat building experience be. And so I would recommend for a lot of entrepreneurs to make sure that they are simplifying things, because, you know, in my business and the manufacturing side, we do want to have a flow and a streamline, and we want to limit some of the customization, but that's also what I cater to. So you have to have that balance, and marketing helps tell that story too. So
Now come back to that one more time. You said that there's three things: lifestyle, and what were the other two?
it's lifestyle, functionality, and performance. The
Lifestyle,
lifestyle is
functionality,
we're keeping our
performance.
herd together. Yeah, we keep our herd together. The functionality is they got room, they're easy to use, easy to drive, and then the performance is, of course, it's got to go fast.
Yeah, I love that you have a real good clarification there as to what it is that you're delivering, and you're not afraid to charge a premium for an amazing product that delivers all three of those: lifestyle, functionality, and performance. But obviously you gotta not only market and get the people to that point of interest, but you also have to sell them. And what's a part of your sales process? This is where Jeff's sweet spot is, so I'd love to get his questions as well. But what's your go-to sales strategy for moving this quality product?
I think that to really simplify it, it's like I said, it can be overly complicated, overwhelming for a lot of people, especially people that are not visually based, right? You got to get them to believe and feel what they're getting before they get it. So you basically have, you know, an 8-page document, and you got to get them to really visualize what each one of those things mean and see. I really focus on painting a picture of what it is they're getting, and like write down. I'll sit them down here, and my skill set is oh, well, let's just design your boat. Let's just start the experience. Who cares about the numbers right now? Let's actually go through the experience of what you're signing up for. And we go through and throughout the graphics, we show them pictures of the interior. And then a good salesman has to listen to what is important to that customer. You know, I usually get a couple in here, a husband and wife, and they, you know, you can hear the wife is looking for this, and the husband just wants to go 1,000 miles an hour. It's like there's two different dynamics, and our job as a salesman is to help get them a dream to reality, which is hone in on exactly what it is they're looking for, and then everything else kind of comes together.
Yeah, I was in the Ferrari dealership when Jeff was picking out his new Ferrari, and they were going through all of the options, adding it. He says, well, you want graphite this and you graphite that. And what was the expensive
Dude, I
product?
love the titanium bolts that are like $100 a piece, titanium lug nuts, you know, because they're going to weigh a half a pound instead of a pound or whatever. I'm like, this is hilarious. Like, do I want to spend $1,000 on nuts, on lug nuts? Like that was the one that kind of me, you know.
He said, you want this kind of wheel? And he goes, it's 16 for each 16 for each wheel. And he goes, 1,600? No, $16,000 per wheel.
Yeah, carbon fiber wheel. But yeah, leave that one off.
I'd like to align myself with that kind of persona, but it might take a few years. You know.
Well, sales questions do you have, Jeff?
You know,
obviously, there's got to be some pretty high level training.
I had 2 sales people doing, you know, $2 million a year. And I just said, hey, if I want to do 20 million, I just need 20 salespeople. So I put a room full of people, you know, totally different direct selling, outbound dialing. It was freaking hard, but the numbers were for you. I'm imagining you just have a sales team of a few guys and they've been there a long time, but it's interesting. A lot of repeat customers, that's not a real hard sell. I love my boat. I've had it 5 years, but I want to upgrade. So you're paying commissions, but it's almost like those sales reps, I imagine, have relationships with those families. And I'm thinking about all my old Supercross friends that have bought boats from you. Eliminator was big in that niche, right? Supercross, you know. Right. So
you just focus on landing on one, and then you get the next. And you know, I do focus on regional areas throughout the United States because I'm trying to grow the brand in separate areas of the country, and sometimes it just starts with one, and then all the friends have got to have it. And you know, you're absolutely right. The product kind of sells itself. You know, you just, you know, one way or slightly, but you just got to make a sales process that pretty much caters to that. When you see a product, oh, I like it, I got to have it. And then let's go find out what it's all about.
You
know.
do a lot of marketing and spend a lot of money, I know, on trade shows. I mean, the regatta up in what, Havasu, and then there's a couple
Yep.
big boat shows. I mean, you're probably spending 100 grand a year just going to trade shows. So
Uh-huh.
you send all your salespeople up there, they're meeting and greeting, and hopefully you're getting some orders at those shows, right? As maybe part of the goal, or at least you get the showcase the product, and sales just has to follow up. They got to call them, email them, stay in
Yep.
touch for when they're ready, right?
Yeah. You know how it is. I mean, I've always used the Foursquare to evaluate my clientele, which is, you know, you got the direct person, you got the analytical person, you got the humorous person, the creative person, and I always just try to pick on the box where this person sits. Is he analytical? I'm just going to give this guy a ton of analytics. You know, how much the boat weighs, and how wide it is, and how fast, what the fuel economy is. Where somebody that's a direct person, they just want to get right to the price, right to the point. So, I mean, I teach the sales team to kind of qualify the people, because most of these people are like yourself, Jeff and David, A-type personalities. They know exactly what they're looking for, and they have to cater and push that message that way. Impulsive buyers are really our biggest challenge, because there is a 1.5 year wait for most of these things out here. So you get a guy that's super impulsive, if we have to slow it down and work on the communication and keep the relationship. So that our sales process is very prolonged, and these guys are beat up by the end of the day because they got so much work and just follow up and making sure that the details are being met. So there's quite a bit of responsibility for my sales team, and that's why I have to keep a guy that is, you know, pretty knowledgeable of the product and what it takes to build it. So
I'm curious to know if you're going to grow or double your business, because we've kind of used the tagline as that we help business owners grow 2 to 10x in 3 to 5 years, and you want to grow 2x in the next 3 years, or whatever you said. You want to go from
right.
30 to 55 boats. What are the 2 or 3 things that you feel are the levers that you have to really go after to take the production, or take the revenue up to, or the quantity up to 55 boats? What would you say needs to change?
That's a great question, and I think what it has to do is my production has to be able to meet the demand. You know, the sales is not my issue. It's actually the production, to get them out in a reasonable time with a reasonable cash flow and all the different things that go in with it. So that's kind of the biggest thing for me, is in order to, I mean, I'd love to go 10 times, but the reality is like there's so many steps along the way that has to be. So the first thing for me was to learn what it takes to have a flow. What is the flow? Does the cash follow the flow? Does the output, and the quality, does it maintain? We are dealing with quite a few different generations of people in our workforce, where we have guys that have been here for 30 plus years, and we have some guys that are, millennials straight out of the box that don't want to get their hands dirty. So we've got such a variety. So to scale it properly and to get the output that I need, it has to be in systematical steps, procedures that train people to learn that skill set. Because most of these employees that I have they have a vocational skill set.
Mm-hmm. So we've talked about assessing your ability to scale. We've talked about the business plan and the financial scorecard. We've talked a little bit about marketing, and we've talked about sales. And now we're really, into the 5th step, which is all about leadership. Talk to us about you, Jake. Talk about, what is it that you need to grow in as a CEO, president of an organization to get to that level? Are there new, we like to say that new level, new devil, right? So every time you go up a level, there's usually more devils that come with it. So what are some areas that you really want to grow in as an individual and as a leader to scale the business?
Another great question. Just really working on sticking to the plan and being accountable for myself. Learning to run this company from a 300 feet bird's eye view has been hard for me, because I was one of the guys that was in the trenches doing. I mean, I've done everything here, from rigging boats to cleaning the shop and all the stuff. So for me to all of a sudden go to the next step, it's hard to really be laser focused on what it is I need to be looking at all times. Really, just my personal is just making sure I'm focusing on the data and making sure that I'm staying ahead of whatever curves might financial curves that are coming, whatever is coming ahead of us, staying ahead of it. The other thing is I got to work on my communication skills and my patience with, making sure the expectations are set and following up with that. So those are my couple points that I really need to work on. So.
Well, you need to, in order to double the business, you need more leaders underneath you. And how do you find those leaders, like recruiting or training, to grow them up into being better leaders? Because you got managers out there that have like teams of people under them, right? It's like, it's one thing, I can become a better leader and study and try and take the classes and, but like trying to get the people under you to lead better, that's just as important, right? Because they're running that team.
Yeah. So I'm an expert at selling boats, but selling my own staff, that has been a big training. And I've been really looking on my choice of words, really working on getting them to be delegators, so me delegating to them, that's become easy now. I've got that practice, but to get them to do that has been the next step. And really just, I try to once a quarter do a little bit of a training exercise. I'll read an article out of the Business Weekly or one of those, or the Wall Street, something like that, and they have these little articles that I share with them, and we talk through situations that we have, and also kind of letting them learn to fly on their own too has been another thing that I've been really working on. It's like when they come in and expect me to fix the problem, I'll say, hey. You've been doing this just as long as I have. Why don't you tell me what you would do if you were in my position? And then, just getting them to slow down and think, and it's just repetition over and over again. And then the next, I see these guys developing as they go. In my industry, these guys are not dominantly educated, but they're expert boat builders. So getting them to think on a management level is taking training. And I've got a really good operations manager. One of the things in the book Traction that we refer to, Jeff, is that they talk about getting somebody that is the integrator that is the opposite of you. And so my operations manager is a total realist. He's kind of just, right to the point, direct. Me, I'm the optimist. I'm the creative one. I'm like, woohoo, let's do this, optimistic. And he is directed to the point. So having him provides the balance. And then we're trying to get that balance under him too. So that's kind of, I really looked at people's ways of being as one of the things that I'm looking for when I'm looking for the types of people we're hiring. We don't necessarily need to go off of a resume. We're looking for somebody's way of being, and we're trying to find that out. And that's how we're getting the right people on the right seat.
What about operations? I mean, you obviously have a pretty robust operation, from staff to facilities and manufacturing and all the things in between. What are some operational efficiencies that you've had a chance to improve upon over the years that if another entrepreneur is watching this today, you could say, you know what, here's something I learned, or here's something that we have streamlined or simplified or outsourced to make operations flow a lot better?
Yeah, that's a great question. We started with a lot of procedures. A lot of our complications in the flow of things with lack of procedures and policies, as simple as this may sound. Sometimes the littlest things that you can do can make a huge impact. And, for example, last week, the guys came up with an idea for the rig team, which is the guys that do the motors and the electrical. They wanted a Google sheet so that they could tell the parts guy what he needs to be ordering next, with giving a lot of the accountability to the guys that are actually on the floor doing the work, and they are pushing the orders to the people they are holding each other accountable. So we made that a process, a procedure, where they go in and that's the new step. Like this guy, he's starting a project and he is going to just put all the 100 things on that list so that we can get further ahead of it. But making the employees do it really helped that. The other thing we've done is sales contracts. We've had customers that don't pay on time and regularly as we need them to. So we've put little process policies and stuff to protect us and make sure that they know, like, no, this is real serious. You need to pay this bill, right? So that helps cash flow, to help things move on forward on the boat. Outsourcing, we do outsource. There's digital technology everywhere that's been really helping us. I mean, this is pretty much a hands-on business where people are doing things with their hands in order to make something. But, we've outsourced the upholstery panels, the stitching projects. We've outsourced the windshield manufacturing. We can do it here. But yes, we really have tried to work with our vendors, and it really has helped to speed up production. And then it cuts down on labor, because the manufacturing labor is the death. It's you have to watch that labor more than any other thing in this business, and so that's why outsourcing helps save you on that labor.
Wonderful.
And the quality stays up high too.
I got a question for Jake. When I was a $10 million business, I found out if I go out and buy this equipment for 500 grand, I could make an extra $200,000 a year to the bottom line, right? But you're like, do I really want to invest 500 grand? Like, that CapEx question is big, because it all depends if sales are going to continue. And we've got interest rates going up, a changing president. You got some craziness going on right now. How do you look at like CapEx? I'm sure you've had to buy things through the years, that are expensive, but like, how do you make a decision on whether to invest in CapEx or equipment or machinery? Like, I'm just curious, because I'm faced with that right now. My wedding venue, if I spend $500,000 on a commercial kitchen, I can get a liquor license and make an extra $2,000 profit per wedding. And I'm just a little $1 million wedding business trying to get to 2 million. But do I spend 500 grand to make $2,000 net profit on alcohol? You got to have a kitchen in California to get a liquor license. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do it. How's the business looking over the next 12 months? Those types of decisions are tough.
Yeah, so that's, I can relate. That I bought a routing table and a new compressor and stuff that, we're talking 50 here, 70 here, no, not huge money, like 500,000. Unfortunately in my business, basically it's all in the hands right now. I can't make a steel cast that pops them out of the mold like that. It's just the nature of our business. It's just very labor intensive. But where I would focus on my CapEx is all the small things. If I can save, a couple grand on each windshield or each part or this or that, then that's where I'm looking to do it. It's just, when it comes to the CapEx, though, I've been pushing it out further to make sure to make sure that the risk is not going to bring me down one day or something. So I've been really trying to push it out further, project further, and make sure that worth it in the long run. But a lot of my money the extra resources that I have is spent really on new R&D. That will be in the future. I'll be able to outsource that whole part of it. Now I have 2 full-time guys that just work on the next new model. The new model takes 6 months around here, right? Those 2 guys, that's all they do, right? I can basically take those guys out and outsource it to somebody that can make me a whole mold, turnkey, ready to go in a fraction of the time. But that process is super expensive. It's that 500,000, and right now I can't justify it. So I'm trying to slow it down, learn some more things here, and be really sure what we're going to do in the future. That's a big decision. So I I'm a little more conservative on that.
I imagine it takes an optimist to sell a boat that's 500 to $1 million, 500,000 to $1 million. So it takes an optimist to think about an economy that is, slowed, and there's a lot of people that are thinking that it may continue to slow a bit. But what would you say to the business owner that has that, realistic mindset, not super optimistic, but not pessimistic, but realistic, and saying, I don't know where this economy is going, so I'm not sure how much money to drive into growth. Would you have the mindset that says, hey, this is the time now? If I grow right now when my competitors are holding back, which is what a lot of our business partners are talking about, is they're doubling down and gaining market share because they're marketing and they're doing their growth when other businesses are holding back. But there's a risk there.
Right. I would double down on marketing. I just keep pushing forward. This current climate that we're in is much different than the last one, which is the 08 meltdown. There still seems to be money out there, and still have lots of phone calls as people want new boats. So I haven't really sensed it yet. I'm feeling some of the pressure from some of the customers, where they're expecting to get paid on a job or something that's like slowing down. So there is that ripple effect. I mean, I do feel it, but I would you have to push ahead, and you got to make a new product. Keep things fresh. It's basically what I'm trying to do is make something that nobody else has, and as long as it's hard to get product and it's not out there or something new, then I can pretty much maintain my niche demand is what I'm basically thinking.
Cool. Any other questions from you, Jeff?
I want to ask Jake something. I was over in Monaco, France, and I happened to be there a week before the boat show. So those $300 million yachts were rolling in, the Saudi princes, the billionaires, Playland. It was crazy. Like I'd never seen. I had lived in Newport Beach for a few years, and I've seen $100 million boats, but like one of them. But you go over there, it's like 300 million to, 100-foot long, two helicopter pads. Not, but I'm looking at all the offshore racer, boats, and I was thinking, the big talk was electrifying boats. Monaco will not allow the cruise ships to stop in there anymore because of the diesel fuel. You're polluting our city. So our cruise ship got diverted out of Monaco, and we had to dock at Nice, and I had to drive over to Monaco. So I'm wondering, like most of your customers like myself, I'm early 50s, but if you're 40s, 50s, 60s, you probably still want a motor and loud. But I know you've looked into electrifying your boats. Like, do you think in 10 years, Eliminator will have an electric boat, like charging and quiet and like where is that going? We're seeing it in the car business, right? Tesla and
and the lawnmower business.
The boat business. What's that?
And the lawnmower business.
Oh, geez, I can't get a lawnmower right now in California. Dude, John Deere will not ship me a lawnmower with an engine. They want to give me an electric lawnmower with a 42-inch blade instead of 60. I'm like, I had no idea. I heard about it, but I didn't know it was here in California. But we're crazy in California.
Yeah, to answer your question, yes, I've explored electric. There's a couple of manufacturers out there that make big power electric. Our biggest thing is we got to make sure the weight is down on the batteries. The batteries are still very heavy. Gas is 8 pounds per gallon, and I think to get the equivalent, it ends up still being double the weight.
Wow.
And we're talking 50-gallon tank that I'm currently using. So we got a weight issue. Secondly, we have an infrastructure issue. Most of my clientele does not have the big power on the dock to get these things charged, and then the amount of time it takes to charge. So the technology is not quite there. It will be there. I just give it about 3 more years and we'll be doing it. And also the cost too. Right now, in comparison, a 300 outboard is about $50,000 by the time it's said and done, and that same power plant is north of 100 plus the battery. So it's still very, very expensive. Once the costs come down, the infrastructure's there, and there will be no reason why I'm not using it. I was even thinking I'll put a solar panel on the deck of the boat, make it look cool. There'll be all kinds of stuff we can do. It can get creative. So, but yes, that is the future, unfortunately, because I like the sound of the big motors. So,
Right.
I'm sure there'll be some sort of a AI or some other thing that'll come out that'll actually, voice recognition. Give me the loud motor. And it'll actually convert it to a loud motor. But as we wrap up here today, Jake, would you mind just sharing with us your 3 best tips? Entrepreneurs that are watching this video right now, some of them may be budding entrepreneurs, but most of the people that are watching it are going to be in that position where they are 1 to 10 million. They want to grow their business. They want to see 2 to 10x growth in their business. What are your 3 best tips that you could share with other entrepreneurs?
Just writing them down. So I would really just start with confidence. You got to be confident. You got to know exactly what it is that you've got to do and what you want to be and how you want to get there. You just got to have a lot of confidence. And then you got to be consistent. You got to stick to your plan and just be totally confident about it. And then the last thing, you have to be relentless. Don't let anybody get in the way, and just keep fighting for what you believe in. And I try to keep my life pretty simple. It's basically those three things.
Love it. Any final thoughts, Jeff?
No, I mean, I appreciate you taking the time to do this with us, Jake. And when we test in the next boat, you let me know if
Well,
you're
I
over
was
in
out
my
there.
Elsewhere house
Well, I
again.
was down the street from your house last week, so I mean, hey, probably be out there next week.
Yeah, the water at the lake house is up 60 feet. I mean, my launch ramp at the house is plenty of water. It's going to be nice just to see that lake full,
Yeah.
you know, and a little cleaner. So
Yep. And they keep investing money to clean it up. It looks great. It's awesome. They got the new filtration system in there. The water is it's crystal clear. It's amazing. It's looking
yeah.
good.
Well, I know that we're not going to be waiting 18 months, so we're going to need Jeff to go take a look at some of those pre-owns that you got on your website, because I think that those would be ready right now, right for the summertime.
Yeah. You know what I always tell people? I know a guy.
I know. Very cool. All right. Well, thanks, Jake.
Thanks,
Thanks for
Jake.
spending some time with us, and everybody can go out there and make sure that you check out the website, eliminatorboat.com. That's the best place to go in there and get the details on what Eliminator has to offer. And then make sure you give them a follow on social. Eliminator, or at Eliminator Boats is their Instagram, and really cool videos, opportunities for lots of data gathering and some dream building if maybe you're not in a position where you're ready to buy one. But in 3 years, Jake's going to have 55 of them to sell a year, so he'll have a lot more inventory to move. So thanks so much for helping us out today, Jake. It's great hearing from you.
Thanks,
It was
man.
fun. Thank you. I enjoyed my time.
See ya.